experienced technocrat with over 30 years of dedicated service in the Nigerian public service. Armed with a degree in chemical engineering from the University of Lagos and a master's in energy and environmental economics from any corporate university, Italy, he has honed his expertise through various professional programs, including international gas business and hydrocarbon fingerprinting. Currently serving as the Director of Upstream Department of the Nigerian Ministry of Petroleum Resources, Engineer Busari plays a pivotal role in formulating policies, supervising their implementation, and regulating the Nigerian oil and gas industry, with a specific focus on the upstream sector. His impressive career has seen him represent Nigeria and present papers at numerous international and local energy conferences. Additionally, he has held significant positions on the board of various organizations, including the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, and the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Limited. Engineer Busari is an active participant in international energy discussions, serving as Nigeria's representative on the executive board of the International Energy Forum, IEF. His contribution to shaping Nigerian energy policies, including the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, reflects his commitment to the nation's energy sector. He is recognized as a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, registered with COREN, and holds fellowship with other esteemed organizations, including the Occupational Safety and Health Association in the United Kingdom and the Institute of Corporate Administration, FCA. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we receive together our next keynote speaker in the person of Engineer Kamoru O. Busari, who will be represented by Mr. Ibrahim Suleiman, the Technical Assistant to the PAMSEC Ministry of Petroleum Resources, who is also a Director in the Department of Ministry of Petroleum Resources. Do good by putting your hands big for him. The more you clap, the faster he will be here.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. I would like to stand on existing protocols. I'm here to represent Engineer Busari. He is unavoidably absent. He's on a national assignment assigned by the Permanent Secretary. So his keynote address is going to focus on energy transition and decarbonization. I'm going to use, or he used Nigeria as a case study. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and fellow proponents of science and technology, it's a privilege to stand before you today at this prestigious conference, the ICHST, organized by PTI, a gathering that celebrates the incredible potential of innovation and its central role in steering the world towards a cleaner and more sustainable energy future. Specifically, I will take you on a journey focusing on Nigeria as a compelling case study in our global push for cleaner energy sources. We live in a time where the future of our planet is shaped by our actions. The choices we make today will echo through the corridors of history. Our theme today is energy transition, decarbonization strategies in Nigeria. What is the current energy landscape? Nigeria, like many nations, relies heavily on fossil fuels, particularly oil and natural gas. This reliance has far-reaching consequences and touching the environment, the economy, and the society itself. The challenges. What are the challenges now? We shouldn't overlook the challenges that this status quo presents, from inadequate energy access, as most earlier speakers have alluded to, air pollution to economic vulnerability tied to global oil prices. The case is compelling for a change. So how do we transcend these challenges? The answer lies in a multifaceted approach, which includes sustainable energy. In Nigeria today, we are leveraging on gas as our transition fuel for a cleaner power generation. Energy efficiency, optimizing energy use across industries, transportation, and buildings. The enactment of the new law, it tries to open up the space in the gas to power, gas to industry landscape. Electric mobility. In Nigeria, though electricity is an issue, the government is trying to switch to CNG. Right. The recent launch of the presidential committee is testament to that. Of course, we have to do carbon pricing, and I'm glad NUPRC mentioned they're already working on the carbon credit system. Energy policy and regulation. These strategies demand the foundation of effective policy and regulation set within a comprehensive energy framework that sets clear targets for a cleaner and more sustainable Nigeria. Investment and financing. To propel these strategies into reality, we need investments. We must attract both public and private sectors to support green energy projects. Tools like green bonds can play a pivotal role in funding clean energy endeavors. Infrastructure development. The transition necessitates infrastructure development, modernizing the grid to accommodate sustainable sources, and building energy storage facilities are imperative steps. Then we need to build a skilled labor workforce. This is pivotal. Through education and training, we can nurture the experts who will drive and clean a clean energy sector. Then public awareness and participation. The engagement of the public is not to be understated. We must educate the masses on the benefit of a cleaner energy. We need to switch to cleaner cooking fuels, cleaner transportation fuels. International collaboration. The global challenge requires global solutions. There are schools of thought that believe the transition in itself is driven by geopolitical concerns. Now, people will allude to climate change, people will allude to the OECD, non-OECD countries not wanting a dependence on oil supply. So we need a global challenge that requires collaborating with other nations, accessing climate finance. Funding major projects is key, and sharing technology. Nigeria is unique. It's a country in a way that has the ability to consume its own energy. Our population is projected to be 500 million in 2050. Energy access is key. Solving the energy poverty issue is key. We need a transparent system to measure emissions, track our progress, report on our decarbonization journey. It will be an essence, because like in the last panel, what the international community sees is what will attract them to bring in financing for any future projects. I'd want to conclude, sorry, Engineer Busari would want to conclude. Nigeria's journey to cleaner energy sources is not an isolated endeavor. It's part of a global movement, a movement that seeks to mitigate the effects of climate change, foster economic resilience, and secure our energy future. As we stand on the precipice of a cleaner energy future, let us remember that this transition is not merely about technology, it's about the transformation of societies, economies, and the very world we inhabit. Together, we have the power to contribute to a more sustainable, resilient, and promising future for our planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Engineer Busari, for that keynote address. Please, can we do him again another round of applause? Straight out, as we move further in this second day of our international conference on hydrocarbon science and technology, we would like to look at the theme, talent and workforce development, strategies to attract, retain, and upskill talent in the oil and gas industry with increasing focus on sustainability. To lead this charge, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce the moderator for this second panel session, Dr. George Iwo, CEO of Peggy's Global Limited. Can we put our hands together for him? You're welcome, Dr. George. Joining Dr. George on this stage is Engineer Emeka Iliogbunam, CEO, Innovational Engineering Limited. Can we please put our hands together for him? Engineer Emeka Iliogbunam. Is he here in our midst? All right. You're welcome, sir. Can we also together receive Dr. Tahi Neja, Director of Research at Apple Secretariat from Congo, Brazzaville. Please, let's put our hands together for him. You're welcome, sir. Mrs. Folashade Adekeye, Director of NMPC Academy. Please walk up to the stage and you can comfortably take your seat. We also have Rashida Saleh, the Human Resource and Treasury, Oriental Energy Resources Limited. You are welcome. Please, I thought you are doing your hand big for them. Joining us in this exalted podium, we also have Professor Petrus Nzerim, Acting Dean, Faculty of Engineering, Nile University of Nigeria. I thought I can hear that hand clap. Professor Petrus Nzerim, Acting Dean, Faculty of Engineering, Nile University of Nigeria. You're welcome, sir. We also have, okay, well, I'm sparing the best for the, of course, the last. We also have one of our own, Dr. Samuel E. Onoji, Vice Principal, Petroleum Training Institute. Last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, we have here joining us as one of the panelists, our host, and just newly installed, the Executive Secretary of the Petroleum Trust Fund, PTDF, Ahmed Galadima Aminu, who is here represented by Mrs. Rabia Waziri Adamu, who happens to be the Deputy GM, Education and Training Department. Please, can we put our hands big for them? They've been our wonderful hosts, and that's why we want you to lead the line from this end. You're welcome, ma. So our moderator, Dr. George Iwo, CEO, Pegis Global Limited, here on stage are members of your panel that has been constituted. And of course, the ball is in your court. You have the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, again, let's do them another round of applause.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you for the welcome that you've given to all of us, the panelists. Thank you, my fellow panelists in here. I'm sure that we're going to do justice to the topic that we're expected to work on today. Fortunately for us, our topic is not a technical one. It's not something too difficult. I'm sure we can relax and just give you answers on the go, so we don't have much problem. All the technical things have been done by the previous panel section, so just relax and have a refreshing one that you will go home with, so that it's not all about mathematics like they used to say. The topic talks about talent and workforce development strategies. Strategies to attract, to retain, and to upskill talents in the oil and gas industry with increased focus on sustainability. So there are three keywords there that attracts me. The first one is talent. The second one is workforce. And the last one is sustainability. It's a matter of making sure you have the talent. If you have the talent, Does the talent able to give you the workforce you desire in the oil and gas industry? And if that happens, what about being sustainable, especially in this era where we have a lot of jackpot taking place? So the issue is actually very, very apt to this conference. And I want to believe that irrespective of all the things that have been talked about in technical things, if you do not have the talent, if you don't have the workforce, it will just be there being work on paper without being manifested. And so without wasting time, I'd like to go straight because I know that we're far behind schedule. So I'll go straight. And as I was going through this topic, I came to realize the word talent, and I've been thinking talent. That is something we call about skills, and we have talent. So what is skill? What is talent? What is knowledge? Are they the same? We need to know what we're talking about. What talent? Is it comedian? Is it a way of trying to see how you can make people laugh? Or what talent are relevant as we look at in the oil and gas industry? So I will call my very first person, my panelists. I will just go straight to them, and I will start with Mrs. Folashade to tell us exactly what you know, because she's an academician, NNPC academia, so she knows a lot about book. So let's know what is talent? What are we talking about? Talent, knowledge. And then are they the same? If they're not the same, let us know in detail what they are so that we know what we're talking about.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited because such a session normally doesn't come up at events like this. My colleagues who are from HR and services would bear me witness. So for PTI to put this together and give us a session to talk about talent management and workforce, I think is a plus for PTI. Because HR, human resource, is the most important resource. All of what we have been discussing since yesterday cannot happen without human resource. Do you agree with me? So I want to say thank you to PTI leadership, maybe because they are a school, that they put this together, and for my colleagues on the panel. So I would go to what the doctor asked me to talk about, which is talking about what is talent, what is knowledge. Are they really the same? I'm sure all of us here, most of us here, what we'll be discussing at this end would not be rocket science. There are things we're familiar with. But when we look at the oil and gas industry, the energy industry, you cannot do without both knowledge and talent. As a matter of fact, they are both related, but they are distinct in so many ways. How are they distinct? If you look at how you acquire knowledge, it's different from how you acquire talent. You can also look at it in the area of how you apply it. How do you apply knowledge? How do you apply talent? Or how do you discover? So for knowledge, everybody knows, like since yesterday, what we've been doing here is to acquire knowledge. So knowledge is that, ability that we get to understand something, we get to know the theories. You cannot do without knowledge in the energy industry. You need the knowledge. If you look at the institutions, like you said, academics, if you look into academia, that is why we have today, you have young professionals joining the oil and gas business, and they're coming with knowledge, raw with knowledge. They know all the theories. They have all the facts. They have all the understanding, but they haven't worked in a refinery. They haven't worked practically on the field. So when they come, they need to hone and sharpen that knowledge. Whereas talent is something that sometimes is innate, but it can be developed. And believe you me, when you see talent, you know talent. There are some raw talents in the sector, in the energy sector. So talent is the one that goes beyond knowledge. You need knowledge to be able to bring forth the talent. And I want to encourage us, when we identify these talents, let's manage them. So we've gone beyond knowledge in this industry. we're bringing together knowledge and talent. That's why we're going innovation. That's why we can talk about sustainability. Talent is the one that makes it possible for us to do this. So what we're talking about talent and skill. When someone has the talent, let me give an instance of drilling. When you have a driller, someone who has knowledge, can follow the books and drill. But the one who has the talent is the one they call on. Everybody knows them. Is the one they call on when there's a problem. For example, maybe there's going to be a kick. If care is not taken in the well, they quickly look for that talent. And the talent is the one that knows what to do to that equipment and how to navigate the equipment in such a way that the kick is avoided. So talents are very, very essential and very important to the oil and gas sector. So both talent and knowledge are critical. We can't do without any one of the two of them. And it's our responsibility as those in charge of workforce to look for this knowledge and talent and nurture them and continue to improve them. Talents are the ones that are innovators. So how do we sustain that? So I think I'll allow my colleagues to say one or two things also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Folashade. When she said talent is raw, you know, when she said talent and workforce and the knowledge are interchangeably the same, it makes me feel that, okay, so there are some that are inherent and there are some that you acquire. And it means that they are more or less inseparable. But I was just looking at it and I want to turn to you. Please pardon my panelists. I won't just be straightforward. I'll be going back and forth. I want to talk to you, Dr. Tahi. I know in Apple, you're doing a lot of things with workforce, with training and all that. Now, can you tell us exactly what you're doing to develop these talents and this knowledge in the oil and gas industry by way of sustaining them and then ensuring that they are much more beneficial to us in Nigeria and Africa at last? Let's hear from you.
Thank you very much, Dr. George, and I thank the organizers for having me here and for having Abu as a supporter to this event. Just to remind that Abu is an organization, a collection of 18 member countries from Africa, countries who have resources, oil and gas resources, or engaged in producing oil and gas. And the organization, the vision, the mission, and the objectives are set around how these member countries, they can work together to attend to the challenges they are facing in this era of energy transition, and how to ensure that we continue exploit our oil and gas sustainably. This is the overall objective. And the organization conducted a very interesting study to find out the challenges facing the oil and gas industry in Africa, and realized a couple of main or prime challenges. Among these challenges was the need to depend more on our own expertise. The need for Africans to develop expertise and rely on their own expertise instead of relying on imported expertise or foreign expertise. So the Secretariat did some efforts in this direction by, we did a tour by visiting some member countries where we went to the training institutions. There are training institutions which were established by the NOCs. They are very specific to oil and gas. So we went and visited a number of those institutions, including BTI, who we visited last February. And we visited other institutions in other countries just to find out what's going on, what are the synergies, what are the differences, what are the challenges, and so on. And after this tour, we realized that the best approach to work on these challenges is bring together the directors of these institutions together with the directors of human resources, or you can say expertise building in the NOCs, into a forum. And we successfully had that forum, who held their inaugural meeting in Algeria last June. And the idea is for them to really work on the challenges, the opportunities, the demands, the developments in this field and how they can work together, how they bring synergies, and how they apply best practices, and how to harmonize training practices in order to attend to the needs of the industry effectively, and in order to allow Africans to be equipped and trained enough to go cross-border, not just to work for their individual countries. So this is, in general, I don't want to take all the time, but this is one of the most important activities we initiated, and we see that we will make a very good progress together on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tai. That's good. That's a good move by Apple. We just wish that you moved a bit faster because the way it's going now, we're almost going to be on our own because the Western world are trying to leave us. But whether they like it or not, we must sustain the oil and gas industry. And then Apple, you have a lot to do. I like what you're doing. We just hope that you move a bit faster. Now, that brings me to the fact that, yeah, Apple is doing something to bring talents and sustain it in the oil and gas industry. And we already know that it's necessary that we do that. But if you observe lately, for the past decade or so, almost everything is going automation. A lot of things are going automation. And then that brings me to Dr. Emeka. As an expert in the oil and gas industry, and with the automation that is going on in the oil and gas industry, do you really think that we still need more talents and knowledge? Do you think that Apple should go ahead and make sure that they generate more talent? Maybe you should brief us better based on what your knowledge on the oil and gas industry.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. George. The principal and the management of PTI, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today and talk about this subject. Now, Dr. George, I'm going to come into that technology thing, but I also want to make some fundamental remarks regarding the issue of sustainability, which our panel session is centered on. Sustainability can be looked at in several ways, sustaining the industry, but we should also think about sustaining what we have. We have some things today. We have all the assets, we have all the flow stations, we have all the everything. We need to make sure that we sustain those ones to secure our future. And that sustainability will eventually lead us to what one of the panelists the other time talked about, having a sweet-smelling that people will look at, and what I call the integrated systems of work. Very, very important. And what are the key success factors to this? Very simple. Number one is governance. The second one is people. The third one is systems. And the fourth one is technology. That's why I'm coming back to what you said. Now, we focus on people and technology. Now, we also bear in mind that around us, I say we have we have assets already. These assets, incidentally, most of them are aged. Okay, so but from the bathtub principle, those of us who are versed in maintenance, when an asset is new, it suffers sporadic failures. Over time, it stabilizes. And then when it starts getting old, of course, you know what happens. Those of us who are up to 60 years old here know that before you stand up, you may have to lean on chairs and things like that. All right, so there will be more failures. And so, yes, while technology is taking its course, we need to understand that we have aged assets. And in that case, we cannot just immediately replace the need to have adequate maintenance, adequate surveillance, monitoring on these assets. And so cutting workforce may be something we need to think about so well. I was just discussing with a friend there while we were sitting. If I take a stride to one of the 20, 30 years old flow stations in one of the Niger Delta locations, now there is so much I can do regarding information technology on that asset. But that asset is what we have today, and it must operate. And if it must operate, we must lean on the talents and knowledge that is within the system. So information technology will do a lot of good things for us, especially when we increase our how we lean onto research and development for new assets, new experiences, new ventures. Definitely it has to happen. But for now, we must maintain an optimal workforce that will make sure that what we have today, that is going to produce the money we need to use to invest in technology and in research, is still there. And by the way, also, we need to make sure that our workforce undergoes what I call upskilling as well as right skilling. I'm talking about right skilling today because, well, we're in a country where we have a lot of human beings. We must employ them. But what we need to try to do right now is to right skill them. While we are moving into technology, these guys we have right now, we have to expose them to the trend of technology so they can still fit into what we are going to be doing. So in a nutshell, yes, we don't have to, at the moment, reduce the workforce, but we must make sure that the workforce we have right now, we are giving them to the right skill so that when we take them away from the routine jobs that machine can do, then we'll be able to give them the right skills to now fit into where they can use the product of the things they get out of the machines to be useful to themselves and to the industry as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emeka. That was quite good. I hear you talk a lot about information technology, and I know later on you'll be talking about artificial intelligence and all the Internet of Things. I'm going to come back to you on that because we would like to have much more buttress on it. But you know, that brings me again to exactly where the oil and gas industry is working is going to. You will know that a lot of things are happening. Technologies are going. Sometimes we hear about cutting-edge technologies, and most of this technology, most times they come from outside the country. I just keep wondering, is that why we run outside? So I want to come to you, Dr. Samuel Onoji. I know that you schooled abroad. I know that you're a doctor. And I was just wondering, with you now in PTI, and knowing that you actually schooled abroad, the reasons why people actually run away from Nigeria to go and school abroad, is it that we don't have the capacity here to train them? Is it that we don't have the environment, or what is it? Just like me and you, several of us, all of us here went abroad to go and school. What's making us run away from Nigeria that we cannot train ourselves fully? Maybe you give us some highlight on that.
Thank you very much. This is like a jam question, but I will answer it because of course, I went abroad to do my PhD. You see, Nigeria is the third world country, and we're talking abroad. We're talking about people going to the Western nations, maybe US, Canada, Europe, and the rest. Why do people have to leave Nigeria and decide to go to abroad for their study? I will look at it from two perspectives. One, the educational aspect of it, and secondly, the industry aspect of it. I'm talking of the oil and gas industry. Now, the oil and gas industry, we have specialized courses. Let me start with the oil and gas industry. We have specialized courses, high technology driven courses that, of course, are not available in Nigeria. We know that oil industry, the first oil exploration industry came to Nigeria was in 1908. And by 1937, Share days, which later metamorphosed to become Share BP, Share Petroleum, and SPDC as we have it today, they came in 1937. And so the technology we don't have it here. There are specialized technologies, advanced technology in oil and gas. They are not available in Nigeria. And of course, if you must acquire them, you have to go abroad. That is one aspect of it. Then the second aspect is that such technology, we don't even have facilities. We don't have adequate facilities in Nigeria because I'm talking of the state-of-the-art facilities. We don't have them. And they are also very, very expensive. And so if you want to acquire such technology, of course, you have to go abroad. Then on the educational aspect, yes, why do Nigerians choose to go abroad? There are so many obvious reasons. One, there's a gap between the universities or the higher institutions and the industry. Very big gap. We have not been able to close that gap. You will see lecturers who have not been to the industry, they are teaching for textbooks, no practical experience. But when you go abroad, you see that there is synergy between the university or the technical institute in abroad and the industry. You have experts from the industry. Some of them, when they retire, they go back to the university to lecture. So as a student, if you happen to go to places like that, you will acquire more practical skill compared to what we have in Nigeria. Then that interconnection, internship, we don't have it much in Nigeria yet. Students are not exposed to industry experience because you are training them to work in the industry. If at the end of the day, they come out of the university, discover that they have talent, they don't have it. Then research opportunities, they are much, much common in universities abroad. Very, very common. We have research, of course, we have research opportunities here, but they are expensive. We don't have equipment. There are no equipment in most of our universities here. Most of the universities we have in Nigeria, they actually glorify university. I studied the University of Benin in first degree and a master's degree. In my first degree, we didn't even know what a chemical reactor is. We have not seen one because there was no one. You understand? But so most of the lectures you take, they are just theoretical. You don't have, so that practical experience is not there. Then, of course, in this life, everybody is in a hurry. You are in a hurry to go to school. You are in a hurry to make money. You are in a hurry to marry. And there must be a timeline. If you want to, for example, if you are going for an engineering course, it's expected I spend a minimum of 5 years. But in Nigeria, I doubt if you actually spend 5 years. At the end of the day, you are spending 10 years, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years because of incessant perennial strikes by ASU. So if you have the money and you have the opportunity, why not go abroad to go and study? Instead of wasting all your time, because age is a number, but age is counting. It's a number, but it's counting. So nobody wants to waste time. You are getting older because the industry is actually looking for very young people. So if you spend 10 years acquiring one certificate, how will you be able to employ, work in the industry? Then you have quality assurance. You see, what I mean by quality assurance is that the accreditation process of Nigeria universities and technical institutions, when I'm talking of higher institutions, I'm talking of polytechnic inclusive, they are political. Very, very political. You see, accreditations are granted for courses where such equipment are not available. We know of certain institutions. I take example of PTI. I won't mention the name of this institution. They were going for MBT accreditation. What did they do? They don't have equipment. So they wrote that they want to pick up our equipment and take it to their institution for accreditation purpose. So what happened after that? Even if we have to permit that, of course, we rejected the offer, the application. So even if you do that, what actually happened? You see, you will get the accreditation exercise will be carried out, you are successful, but at the end of the day, the equipment are not available as claimed by the institution. Then, of course, you know, life is like that. Traveling is a part of education. It's a part of education. It's a part of education. So if you don't have opportunity to travel abroad or work abroad, but you have opportunity to study there, why don't you go there? Because that might be a lifetime opportunity. You may not be able to go there because it's easier to get a study visa that will take you to US, to South Africa, to Europe, than to get a work permit. So, of course, when you do that, you will have good interaction with your, you have international exposure as a student. And so these are some of the reasons why we travel abroad. Then, on one note, I want to say this again. In our institution, why most people also go abroad. Sexual harassment. I'll give you an example. There was a student I know, somebody, a family I know, he has a very beautiful daughter. He went to university and he was sexually harassed by the lecturers. After spending 1 year there, because he could not cope He left the university and went to another one. The same thing happened. So what happened? But he must acquire education and he had to go abroad. So these are some of the reasons. The lecturers are not well paid. Lecturers are not well paid. And so they don't put in their best. That is, of course, they don't put in their best. And a situation like that, you don't expect, you can, if you have opportunity to go abroad, why not? So there are so many reasons why people have to go to abroad.
Thank you, Doctor.
Of course, we agree that we have scholarships in Nigeria here, but how much of it? What are the facilities to access those scholarships? But when you go abroad, you are working, you are schooling, you are making money and remitting dollar back to the country. And so those are some of the reasons. But I tell you, as it is now, those who went abroad to study, they are finding it difficult now to cope because of the naira-dollar exchange rate. So these are some of the things you consider. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Samuel. You know, Dr. Samuel is a lecturer. So he has just shown that he's a true lecturer. What he has said here is a one full semester study for some people. It's just that he just broke it down in a little form. I hope that our scribes are taking notes because this will form a very good notes of communique at the end of the summit, of this conference. Thank you, Doc. You know, you mentioned a lot of things about technology, about education, and about advantages, a lot of advantages. But I'm sorry, I have to put Dr. Petrus. I need to put you on the spot now, Petrus. You're also an academician like him, and he has said a lot of good things about going abroad. Would you say that in Nigeria, that we do not have the capability of bringing people to the level you are as a professor in Nigeria, that they can compete favorably with people abroad? Or must they always, at any point in time, go abroad? And I'm saying this because Dr. Tai is listening. Apple is going to do a lot of things in training people talent so that you will know what to apply. Let me hear from you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's a difficult question to answer. Why I say it's difficult is because I think we have also produced eminent personalities who have done all the education here. So I wouldn't really say you necessarily need to go abroad, you know, to be able to maybe get to the level which I have got to. But that being said, like Dr. Enoji also did mention, traveling is also a form of education. You know, seeing how other people do things is also a you know, form of education, and enables us also maybe do some introspection and see what we're not doing right, and see what we can learn from other clients. I had the privilege of, while studying both in Nigeria and abroad, and I think studying abroad also gave me some sort of a change in perception, or a different way to look at things, a different way to look at do things as well. So I would say if one has the opportunity to travel abroad, then by all means do, because it helps in you know, furthering your outlook in life, giving you a different perspective in life, and also you know, having a different way, a different approach to look at problems, and you know, different ways to get solutions to a problem. So I think it's something that is you know, should be encouraged, but I think it should be a means to an end. The end goal should always be to bring back to our country, to see how we can use this knowledge that we have acquired abroad for the betterment of our country. We do have, people who have the opportunity by one scholarship or the other to travel abroad for education. But I think some of these scholarship opportunities, or maybe some of the bodies that grant these scholarship opportunities, do not also do a lot to ensure that the money we have invested actually comes back to this country. Most often, you have people who travel abroad and never return. And it didn't start today. I think my dad's friend, also gave me a story of how he went to do his PhD back then in the 70s or so at the University of Durham. And I think he was able to finish in record time. And his supervisor was wondering, what are you still hanging around doing? Because he had finished ahead of time, I think he had to send a telegram back home. And I think they just released him, and he never really came back. I mean, he's a professor in the US now. So it's a good opportunity to bring back, some sort of knowledge transfer, to bring back, knowledge or transfer technology back home. But we do not do enough. I think the pull factor is too strong, which most times, take our talents away. So as much as it is encouraged, I think as a country, we need to also do a lot to ensure that we improve our local education. I think some of the issues maybe with our public universities that Dr. Enoji highlighted, but education is an expensive business, believe me.
Seen situations while I was in the oil and gas industry, while I was working an IOC, where a contract staff earns lesser than a full staff, but does 90% of the job. In most cases, the contract staff do more than the staff himself, who has better welfare packages. And so I'm just wondering, Ms. Rashida, what do you think is the contract management system in our oil and gas industry? As an HR expert, do you think they are commensurate? Do you think they are worthwhile? If they are not, what do you think we can do to improve on them so that the talent and the workforce and sustainability we're talking about can come to stay in the country?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I would just like to thank the organizers, for having me here today. Thank you, Dr. George. That's an important question, and it is something that is being discussed regularly in the industry. And yes, we do have instances where some organizations or some companies have this disparity between their contract staff and maybe their full-time staff. Now, sometimes in some organizations, I'm not holding brief for anyone, but for some organizations, why they have contract staff is maybe they have a project that is time bound, maybe it's for 2 years or for 1 year, and cost may be a factor. You may not want to bring, let's say, 30 full-time staff onto a project that will be a year long, number one. It may be cheaper for you to use contract staff, for that short period, have them, on a fixed term contract for 1 year and have them, work on that project. So costs is a driving factor in that. Can we do better? Yes, we can do better in terms of their engagement, their benefits, their rewards, their well-being, what can be done for them. This is a sensitive question I've been agitating for. It's not only in the oil and gas industry we have these challenges. I know very well in the banking industry as well, this has come up. Now, companies handle these issues on an individual basis. So I'm just speaking personally, from our organization. So what we do is make the terms of employment as close to that of the full staff, make it fair, make them feel included in the organization. These are some of the things you can do to mitigate against such things. Are we ever going to do away with contract management of, of such kind of stuff? I don't think it's something that will stop immediately. I think it's something that will continue, even looking at Nigeria as a whole, where we have this kind of issues, not just within our industry. So it's not something that's going to go away very soon. I don't think it's something that's going to go away maybe in the short term. But what organizations and companies can do is to ensure that the terms of engagement is fair and your staff are treated well. Their well-being is important, and ensure that they have a sense of belonging so that they're part of the company. So if these things are in place, then you do such contract staff will not feel that divide as much, between them and full-time staff. Like I said, this is an issue of, contract management of staff. It's not something that's going to go away overnight. A lot of companies are talking about it, and each company has their own way of dealing with such things. Yes, government tries, there's regulation, policies that come up to try and manage such situations. But I think on the whole, we can improve on it as an industry and as a country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rashida, for that. Invariably, what you're saying is that it's possibility for change, but they said actions speak louder than voice. I guess these words you have said are already known by several companies, but they just wish to do what they want to do. I'm thinking that if we have a commensurate and equal opportunity for workforce and the talents, we will have better sustainability and better growth for the oil and gas industry. And so we have to take that into perspective. Now, coming back again to education, we're talking about talent, knowledge, and all. We're sitting here in PTDF, and PTDF is one technological company for training, and they've done a lot of things. But even as that, just like Dr. Samuel said, there has been a lot of failed promises of sponsorship, of shall I say, sponsorship of students for training, for studies, and whatever. PTDF has trained a lot of people based on what it was meant for. And we know that there are several other organizations like NDDC and all that also train. But most of these trainings at some point get to a failure. They are not continued. So I want to ask you, Mrs. Rabia, what do you think are the reasons for these failures? So that if these sponsorships that are being promised and signed and are put into full perspective, I'm sure there will be more confidence built in all these organizations. But rather, there are failures halfway, and sometimes they are not even started. What do you think are the causes? And what can you say that PTDF is also doing in their own to be able to ensure that their own perspective stands far and tall?
Thank you very much. I think, I'm not sure if, okay, it's working. Thank you very much, Dr. Iwo, for your question. And thank you very much, PTI, well done for organizing this event and partners. And thank you for inviting us to be panelists on this very exciting topic. Yes, it's not technical, as Dr. Iwo said, but I think without the workforce, the talents, everything would be at a standstill because there will be no one to manage them. So back to the question you asked. I'm glad you asked me that question because apart from being a panelist, probably I would serve in an advisory to answer your questions. Probably the failures in these scholarships could be as a result of an inadequate maybe planning, lack of end-to-end processes, and other things that may contribute. I would say that we are in the industry at a pivotal point where talent management is basically the backbone or the cornerstone of our transformation. We heard the keynote speaker talk a lot about gas as being the transition fuel. We talked about energy transition. So I would use PTDF as a model to answer both sides of the questions, why the failures and what could be done. Recognizing the fact that talent is key in the oil and gas industry. The first thing we do as PTDF is periodically we undertake a skills gap audit so that we understand what are the global emerging trends within the industry. So year in, year out, we talk to the industry, we engage experts within the industry to carry out this skills gap audit so that we come up with the right skills that will fit the industry. Because as we all know, our industry is dynamic. So things are always changing. And then I think, as I said, lack of end-to-end process, probably from scholarship providers. We have an end-to-end process which commences with a selection of the best brains that we could find. We have selection criteria. We have criteria for selection. I don't want to bore you with that, but it actually is there to bring out the best brains so that they go to the best universities and learn skills. We also have, identified the importance of collaboration in ensuring that all these scholarships that are given are successfully implemented. We have partnerships with our institutions abroad that we send students, and in each of the universities, we have a focal point who looks after our students' interests. And back home, we are always in touch with them. And we work with other agencies within Nigeria as well, and even the ex-scholars, so that we can expand that human capital ecosystem to develop a learning integration so that all the home are in sync, so that we provide the required skills within the oil and gas industry so that we can unlock the economic potentials throughout the oil and gas value chain. And we feel if we do that as a scholarship provider, it's a success. And then we have a monitoring exercise, a very robust one, that we ensure that our students are not just there, lazing around. We ensure that periodically, quarterly, we receive progress reports on the progress of our scholars. And if we don't receive a good report, maybe a student is not performing well, that scholarship is terminated and the student is brought back home. If a warning sign is given by the supervisor, for example, we engage the supervisor so that we understand what are the support systems in place within the universities that can be given to these students. I must say that, within all the countries that we send our scholars, we go for the top universities. Like within the UK, we only send our students to the Russell Group of universities. And these are the universities that we are in partnership with. Of course, once in a while, because we also train our stakeholder agencies, like the NMPC, like the NMDPRA, NUPRC, PTI, and other organizations within the industry. If they request for a specific program or for a specific university, we do give that. Otherwise, we have specific universities. To be honest, because of the way that our scholarships are run, the French government found it worthy to come and approach PTDF. We didn't approach the French government for a partnership. They approached us and they wanted to partner with PTDF. Total Energies recently approached us because of the robustness of our scholarships. They wanted us to partner and basically run part of the scholarships that they run. And I must say, the students that, because of the rigorous nature of our selection process, if you have noticed, some of the appointments, even yesterday, one of the PTDF ex-scholars was appointed by the president, scholars within the government. So that shows you the kind of robustness of our selection process, and then the implementation of the scholarships. And secondly, funding. I think that has been the challenge that most funding bodies have. PTDF always sets aside funds. We ensure that whatever number of scholars we're going to select, we have the funds to send these scholars abroad. We never send a student without a budget for that student. So even when the foreign exchange is escalating, PTDF always meets its obligations. I can go on and on the successes
Thank
and
you.
what people should learn from.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. That's a beautiful presentation from PTDF. We know your capability and we know you're doing well and we're all hearing. But based on time, we will not go too far. We will like, because there are other things to be done. But before we round up this full section, I want to give my panelists 1 minute each to tell us what else you need to tell us that you wish to tell us that you haven't told us. Let us know, and in the aspect of the topic we're talking about. Let us know from you, because we know that there are a lot of regulations, there are a lot of policies already on ground. I don't know how they are being managed, and we all belong to different facets of life. So I will start from my far right. 1 minute. Let us give us a conclusion or concluding statement.
Thank you so much. What I'd like to say in conclusion, since we're talking about talent and workforce in the oil and gas industry, for me, what is particularly and especially very important is upskilling our workforce, training them, especially in the technical fields. Like all my distinguished colleagues on the panel have said, training, training, training. One person has mentioned, why, given the argument for why people are going to study abroad. And the reason is the technical training, the opportunities given to learn. Unfortunately, with our current educational system in the country, we have a lot of problems. We have issues. We are in a very technical field. We all know that. And I'm sorry, I have to say that we just don't have the capacity in Nigeria anymore, especially with current trends. We all know how technology is moving, speed of light. We're talking about AI now in technology. Our schools can't cope. Our universities can't cope. So for me, I'd like to close my own portion on this. We need to train our people. We need to train our workforce. Yes, it's expensive, especially with what the foreign exchange challenges, but we have no choice. Companies have to make that sacrifice if we want to be where we want to be. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Mrs. Flash.
Thank you very much. It's been an exciting session. Okay, for me, I would like to look a bit at the Japa syndrome. And I like to submit here, because taken aback, I said, this is the energy sector, this is the oil. Permit me to say this is the richest sector in the economy. So we shouldn't be having that Japa syndrome. I like to submit here that for us in NNPC Limited, to be honest with you, we even had a session about a month ago. We don't have that problem. Why don't we have that problem? It's not because we are NNPC Limited. We have IOCs who pay better than us. But you see, retention has gone beyond salary. Retention has gone beyond salary. Respect, reward, recognition, especially because we now have about 4 generations in the workplace. We have the baby boomers, we have the millennials, we have the Gen X, we have the Gen Z. Someone like me, we have at least three generations in my family. I'm a Gen X. I'm not a baby boomer. Gen X. I have a son who is a millennial. Very thin line between millennial and the Gen Z. And believe you me, we all have different interests in the workplace. What attracts us is different. I would look for more pay, better pay. My child who is a Gen Z is asking for more opportunities for everything digital. Working from, or going to work. She was working from home. She calculated what it would cost her to transport herself daily. I wouldn't think of that. You would think of going to meet people, networking and all that. They don't need that anymore. So the reason for the JAPA, we have the solution here. So let's all, as leaders in our different organizations, bring this to the fore. We can retain our workforce. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to round up by saying, reiterating what I said earlier. I talked about the critical success factors in ensuring that we maintain sustainability in the industry. Going back again to people and technology, and the last 2 speakers talked about, a lot about the people aspect, and it's very important. What I'm trying to suggest here is that while the universities are trying to up their game, build capacity, and so on and so forth, the operators, the regulators, the institutions do a lot, everything they have to do to ensure that institute what I call a competence assurance and management system in place to be able to ensure that the right competencies are deployed to the people who make the industry work. That's basically what I like to say. The other thing I want to point our minds to is what I call the concept of retention of critical knowledge. Now, a number of companies, if we take NNPC, for instance, the transition, the very important, necessary, and appropriate transition that is going on is also seeing a lot of people exiting the system. Now, why these people exist the system? They exist with their head, with their experience, with their knowledge, with their culture that has been acquired over the years. And if you go down to where the action really is, in the plants, in the flow stations, and so on and so forth, you discover that what Mrs. Folashade talked about regarding talent the other time, there are some special talents people deploy to carry out work. Some of these are not acquired from the classroom. They are not acquired from the shelves where you get certificates and so on and so forth. They are developed over time. They It's very critical that we get that in perspective. How do we ensure that when a lot of people exit the system, we do not leave a huge vacuum? I have gone through master's degree or whatever. I'm talking about people whose culture, who understand the real culture of operating this high in this high-risk environment to make it very sustainable. And then the last thing I'm closing with is digital transformation. Very, very key. We're running, but I'm also calling on every strata of industry, buying computers and gadgets and so on and so forth. Let's start digitizing the people's mind and put an iPhone 15 and can send WhatsApp messages to 1,500 people. That means digital transformation for the industry. It does not. So we need to be very, very a systematic framework that will serve the industry. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you to PTI for everything you do. Thank you, George.
Thank you very much, Dr. George. And in fact, there are so many aspects to this manpower training and expertise development that we want really to discuss and share and I propose really to our colleagues at the BTI, the management of BTI, maybe to dedicate an event just on this, just on training, because really you need a lot of time to discuss so the aspects of the issues of the challenges. And I choose to speak only on one aspect, and I think it's critical. And we find really this problem in Africa in general and in the developing world in all issues, not only the expertise development, technology, tackling development, how to say, economic development or economic diversification. You always find this problem, which is lack of coordination, lack of strategic planning. And I think this is the secret. You can find a lot of telling a very successful story help, but maybe it's good universities and they are living in isolation. They do something, but maybe it's not how to say aligned with what the others want the others do. So I think the best solution, and maybe for everybody to look around for, is to see if there is a strategy, and if somebody is taking this is responsible on this strategy, and to build this strategy and to carry out the strategy, you make sure that all stakeholders are involved. Everybody knows what he needs to do, and everybody knows that what he's doing is aligned with what the others are doing and what the others are wanting. Because sometimes the industry, they are to be served, but the training and education systems are to deliver. So if everybody is involved in this, I think we can align our efforts, and we can recognize our needs and our challenges, and we can make a very, very effective progress. And the government need also to establish a mechanism to how to say, to monitor the progress. This is also very important. Sometimes they establish a very good regulatory system and then they just forget about it. So you need to monitor how this regulatory system or how this strategy is being implemented, what are the challenges, what are the problems, how we can accelerate, how we can overcome the hurdles. These two mechanisms, I think we can go anywhere. wherever we want. We have a very clear vision. We can be there in no time. I think if we apply it like this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think the mic is working now. Yeah. So I'll keep it short. As an academic, I think I want to focus on the development side of things. I think one major problem we're having here in Nigeria is that maybe lack of synergy or cooperation between the academia and the industry. We're supposed to be developing or producing talent who are going to go into the industry. But I think it appears we're not actually meeting that mandate. So I think that there has to be a closer synergy between the academia, our universities, colleges, technical colleges, and so on. That synergy between the academia and the industry, so that they give a feedback or make input as stakeholders into what we're actually doing, in the universities, so that we produce graduates who are fit for purpose. And on the retention side, because we've also experienced our own fair share of the Jabba syndrome, having a lot of people leaving the academia. I think we also need to be a bit more flexible and not, box people or boxing people. One thing COVID taught us was that we could really do things without being in physical spaces. So a little bit of flexibility. I think academics are naturally, what do I use? In a way, they're also quite adventurous. They're radical maybe in nature. If they could have a little bit of flexibility to do other things, maybe spend a year in the industry on sabbatical. If such opportunities exist, perhaps we could also retain talent, and that goes for the industries as well. If a little bit of flexibility in our processes can also help retain talent. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are talking about energy transition, and we said gas is our transition fuel. The workforce, that is the employee, that is the workforce, has a critical role to play. Whatever skill you have acquired, whatever talent you have acquired, it will not last the eternity, because the industry is evolving, things are changing, the industry is very, very dynamic. Therefore, the industry, I'm talking of the oil and gas industry, should, as a matter of fact, encourage their employees to acquire new skills that are transferable to the emerging technologies that we have already in place. And the industry as well should also diversify their portfolios by investing in renewable energies. You have tidal waves, you have hydropower, you have biomass, you have geothermal energy, and so on and so forth, and equip this workforce, equip them, help them to acquire the skills to thrive in those areas. Then, of course, there is need for the industry to support innovative ideas. What I mean is that there are employees that have innovative ideas, innovation ideas. We should encourage them, and we should find a way of rewarding them. Of course, talents are very, very expensive to acquire, like we have just said, and the industry must find a way to retain them. Otherwise, the jackpot syndrome will continue. They will move over to maybe to other African nations. Because if they leave Nigeria, they may have to go to maybe Gabon, Congo, and work. So we must find a way to retain them by ensuring that attractive benefits are given to workers. If the benefits are not there, they will lose. Because like I usually tell people, in this life, every person in this life, either you are a trader, either you are buying or you are selling. And in the process of buying and selling, what you are looking for is profit. So if you are not getting your well remunerated for your talent in Nigeria, you may decide to go overseas to get a better pay job. Then again, the industry should engage policymakers and advocate for policies that promote sustainability in the oil and gas industry. And I want to also say that there are also employees that we're talking about how to make them sustainable. There are employees that has good entrepreneurial skills. They should encourage them. They should find a way to. They're open communications, because whether you like it or not, the energy transition will only be successful if you have staffs that are talented, and these talented staff, you must communicate with them openly, dialogue with them, have discussion with them, your plan of sustainability, because every industry must have plan for sustainability. Dialogue with them, exchange ideas, get the feedback, encourage them, and I'm sure with all this we will move forward.
That's correct.
Thank you, as a nation.
Let's hear from you, madam.
Yeah.
1 minute.
Thank you very much. I think Prof and everyone spot on. To sum it up, I would say that attracting, retaining, and upskilling talent with an unwavering focus on sustainability is basically not a strategic imperative anymore. It is a moral responsibility for employers. So I will keep it short because we've run out of time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my panelists. You really so this with this brief it's gone viral, and I support all that had been said. One last thing I just want to say, which one of us had said, is 60% of African countries now have found oil. Climate emission syndrome is just to affect us, the Africans. If the natural resources that God has endowed us with, because of some Western cultures, people are saying that it's not good for synergy within us in the African country. So that we'll be able to develop that, sure that we're able to use it to benefit us. As Africans, as Nigerians, and ensure that the E&P companies strive to give us the benefits we desire. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
I thought we can make that hand clap bigger for this distinguished. Be seated. I want to request the Principal Chief Executive, the Registrar, Director R&D, and the Director of Science to please kindly walk up to the stage to join them, have a group photograph. Thereafter, the Registrar will have the honor of presenting souvenirs to these deserving individuals. Please, while that group photograph is going on, please let's be reminded that just as we wrap up things with this, the 2 of our international conference on hydrocarbon science and technology, we will be having our launch straight up, and after the launch, and for those persons who will be presenting papers, please do well to locate the room 1 and 2, room 1, 2, and 3 that has been made available for you here at the PTDF facility. Please take notes and be properly guided. All right, thank you. Thank you. We want to, as a way of saying thank you, we have a little souvenir on behalf of the Mrs. Boyo. I also want you around. Okay, good. So we begin with our moderator, Dr. George Iwo. Please, he will be the first recipient of this souvenir. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Thank you. We are proud having you in this conference. Congratulations. Next on the list is Engineer Emeka Iluegbunam. Please, let's not go. We are closing. We'll close formally with this conference. Please, I want to enjoin all our participants and guests here present to please kindly take their seats. In a few minutes, we'll be done with this conference. Please, next on our list is Engineer Emeka Iluegbunam, CEO, Innovation Engineering Limited. All right, he has taken his souvenir. We have Dr. Tahe Naja, Director of Research at Apple Secretariat, Brazzaville, Republic of Congo. Congratulations. Thank you for finding out time to be part of history. We also want to call on Ahmed Galadima Aminu, who is represented by Aminu Waziri. Congratulations, ma. Rebia Aminu Waziri. Thank you for providing all we needed to make this conference a huge success. Thank you, and our best and warm regards to the ES. All right, again, we have Mrs. Folashade Adekeye, Director of NNPC Academy. Oh, okay, she's standing by. Thank you, ma. We acknowledge you. God bless you. We also have Rashida Saleh, Human Resource and Treasury Oriental Energy Resources Limited. Madam, we are grateful. Thank you for that eye-catching discourse you had with us today. We also have in our midst, that's a recipient of our souvenir, Professor Petrus Inzerim, Acting Dean, Faculty of Engineering, Nile University of Nigeria. Thank you, Prof. Thank you for being here. All right, thank you. And last but not the least, we saved the best for the last. And it's one of our own, Dr. Samuel Onoji, Vice Principal, the Petroleum Training Institute. Doctor, we are grateful. Thank you for providing insights to the subject of discourse here at this conference. Please, may I enjoin us to be seated, please. Please, for those of us who are still, we are almost rounding up. Please, can I request that we for those of us who are recipients of this award, I want to crave your indulgence. Can we be seated, please? We are rounding up with this conference. Please, please, please. Let's contact. Please, we are pleading. Kindly take your seats. Please, our guests, kindly take your seats. Please, we'll have time for pictures. We'll have time for exchange of business cards. Please, as we attempt to shut down with this conference, we crave your indulgence.
Please, can I crave our indulgence, please? We'll be out of here for lunch and the technical sessions in the next 5 minutes. Can we please all sit down? Please, let's sit down. Please, let's sit down. We want to present some awards right now. Please, can we sit down? We'll be out of here in the next 5 minutes. Please, let's be seated. We have tarried for so long. Let's wrap it up in a glorious way. I want to present the book of proceedings for this conference. That has all the technical papers that will be coming up in the afternoon after lunch to the SG of Apple, His Excellency, Dr. Farouk Ibrahim. And if he's not in the hall, one of the Apple people can stand in for him. He is. Oh, sir, Your Excellency, please. So sorry, sir. I was expecting you to be seated in front here. So on behalf of the Petroleum Training Institute, this is our book of proceedings for this conference. It has all the technical papers that will be presented shortly. Thank you, sir. There are 3 more awards. And in this order, the first award is going to the very first ICHST committee chairman, who incidentally labored to get us to this point that we are. And today is his last day of assignment in the Petroleum Training Institute. He clocks 60 tomorrow. So he's formally signing out of the institute today. He's been on retirement leave in the past 3 months, but while on leave, he was still working. So I want to call forward Mr. Ejiro Onokoguto to come and receive this award. We appreciate you so, so, so much. When you say go, he's ready to do more than go. So on behalf of ICHST and on behalf of the Petroleum Training Institute, we present this award of recognition to you, and we wish you well, even as you join the Elders Club tomorrow. God bless you. The next 2 awards are for people I will call my forerunners, people who were R&D directors, before me. I just came on board last year, and this is the first conference I'm handling. But there have been people who handle the first and second editions. So I have the privilege of calling Dr. Yetunde, the one who pioneered the first and second editions of the ICHST conferences. He's somebody that anytime you call him to ask for advice, even while we are here in this hall, he's texting me, Madam, let's do it like this. Let's do it like this. This is how it's supposed to be. I appreciate you very much, sir. Thank you for providing a ladder to ride on. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And finally, I want to present this award to my amiable Oga, the one who birthed the vision of ICHST. It was all his idea, even though he was deployed from that unit before we could implement the very first edition. And incidentally, today, he's the chief executive of the Institute. He was a pioneer R&D director of the Petroleum Training Institute who birthed the vision of ICHST and has helped in taking us to the level where we are today. After doing 2 editions in Warri, he said, let's come over to Abuja to make it truly international. And I'm sure you all agree with me that this conference is successful and has been international in every respect. Please help me make welcome my amiable Chief Executive, Dr. Henry Adebowale Adimula. I appreciate you, sir. Without your support, we will not be able to do what we're doing here today. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And finally, incidentally, the other person is not receiving a plaque. He's not in the hall right now. He had to step out. While we were doing all we were here, there was somebody sitting in the audience, beaming with pride, and said, "That's my baby girl. My husband has been here throughout this conference. He had to step out. He has been the powerhouse praying to make sure that this conference is a success." So there's another Dr. ICHST that has been part of this conference all this while. So those of you that know him, when you meet him, help me celebrate him. Without his prayer and support, this conference would not have been a success. Thank you very much. Dr. Woyemi will come forward now to give the vote of thanks.
Wow, wow. Can we just put our hands together for Dr. Tina ICHST, the Director R&D. Thank you so much, Ma, for all your effort. Particularly, I'm grateful to God for this event that took place, started yesterday, and we are concluding it in the next few hours with the technical sessions. It's been a great and a long journey, but today, I could see the faces looking bright and full of smiles and full of joy. It all started with our Chief Executive, Dr. H.A. Ademola, just like Dr. ICHST said, who actually bettered this idea some years back. Incidentally, just like she said, we couldn't execute the very first edition while he was still on that seat. But shortly after that, we kickstarted it. We had the first one, we had the second one. And he also said sometimes ago, I remember in December, he was selling this idea to me that, Dr. Woyemi, I think we should go to Abuja. Then I asked him, I said, why? As a considering the logistics and so many other things, don't you think we should still be at Efron? Then he gave me some of his reasons. And I felt, oh God, we can work with that. We'll run with it. We'll make it happen. And here we are today. So with a warm applause, I want to please chair my Chief Executive, Dr. Henry Ademola. Thank you so much, sir. A very visionary leader and highly supportive, always opening his doors whenever we come knocking. Thank you so much, sir. At this time, I want to thank our partners. Without them, this conference would have been a success. The NMPC were very, very supportive to this conference. Please put your hands together again for the NMPC, NMPC Academy, NMPC RTI, PTDF, and the Apple. Please put your hands together for Apple. Dr. Farouk's presentation yesterday, was just mind-blowing. He has incited a lot of things in our minds. We are actually going back to have a rethink of what to do with the natural resources God has endowed this continent with. And we will do justice to all those things he said. Thank you so much, sir. We also have our partners, NCDMB, NUPRIC, NNRA, a lot of our partners. Please, you can see them on the screen. We are happy to display their Island logo. Please put your hands together for them. PTDF did a lot. They supported us all through. And also to our media team, the NMPC media team and publicity. Please put your hands together for them. They help us to publicize this conference far and near. Now, while the panel sessions was going on, we were having a lot of questions online from Australia, from so many places. They were sending in questions and we couldn't take them, but we're going to work on those questions because they publicized this conference to almost the end of the world. Please put your hands together for them. I'm very particularly grateful and thankful to the chairman who is retiring tomorrow officially from the Institute. He just received his award. He's a very tireless man and full of energy and full of ideas. Thank you so much, Mr. Ejiro, for all that you did for ICHST and you're still doing. We really appreciate your effort. Please put your hands together for him. and also the pioneering director who actually bettered the conference, that Dr. Yetunde. Please, thank you so much, sir, for all that you did for ICHST. He actually executed 2 of them. And now Dr. Tina Olubukola Isichi. Please put your hands together for her. Initially, I thought maybe she wasn't that rugged, but when I saw some of the things she did, most of the time we are in Abuja here. You know, I think we've taken a trip, more than 4 or 5 trips to Abuja. We spend days here to meet with our partners, to have meetings, knocking on doors, so many things. And I thought, we should be able to do this, but she really surprised me. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your tireless effort, your contribution, your persistence and consistency has made this conference to be excellent. Thank you so much. And I'm also grateful to all the management team, our registrar, vice principal, all our top management staff of PTI. Staff of PTI are very, very amazing. Thank you so much. You know, a lot of our staff are here, irrespective of the distance. They are here to support us, and many of them will be presenting papers much more later today. Thank you for your support. Thank you for, you know, praying for us and guiding us and leading us in the path that we should go. Thank you so much. Now, I'm not going to drop this mic without thanking the media team, led by Kelvin and his team. A lot of work were actually done here, you know, to make this place conducive for this particular conference. Please put your hands together for all our media team and those that work with us as floor managers, all the ushers, all the committee members. We have a lot of beautiful committee members. Thank you so much for all that you did. It's been a great day. It's been a great moment. And I can assure you one thing, that the glory of this latter house shall be greater than the former. 2025 will far exceed in glory than the very first 3. And I believe that, and that's what is going to happen. So please open your doors for us, because we'll keep knocking. It's 2 years away, and those 2 years is just around the corner. And we're going to present a much more excellent conference of International Conference of Hydrocarbon and Science. Thank you so much. Thank you all the team members. Thank you all the committee members. Thank you, and God bless.
If that hand clap is for the head technical, please, you can make it bigger for him. Thank you, Dr. Babajide Oweyemi. And of course, as we draw the curtain in this conference, I would like us to be upstanding to take the national anthem. Please, congregation, may you please rise. And so on behalf of the principal, we love you all. Have a good day ahead. See you in 2025. Bye-bye.